Hello, welcome to LifeTalk. I'm Mark Crutcher, president of Life Dynamics, and I'm joined by my usual co-host, Renee Hobbs. Hello, Renee.
Hello. That's better.
I usually introduce you as the comical sidekick or whatever, but
And I said lovely assistant.
lovely assistant. That'll work
Yes.
too. And as people can see, we've got a new cast of characters up here joining the usual suspects.
Yes.
First up is Melissa Conway. Hello, Melissa. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for joining us. And her trusty sidekick, Elizabeth McClung. And you guys are going to be the new permanent co-host of LifeTalk, and we're extremely happy to have you with us.
We're glad to be here.
And both of you guys now come to us from Texas Right to Life, where you both still work, obviously. And Melissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at Texas Right to Life so people know who you are?
Sure. I'm the director of external relations, and that's just a fancy way of saying I deal with the communications, the social media, traditional media. Also work with getting education out into the community through various different graphics and communication tools.
Well, good, good. Elizabeth, do you have a job there, or do you just
I
hang out?
do have a job there. I am the development director, which is a fancy way for saying that our department, we are the ones that cultivate and maintain relationships with our supporters across the entire state.
Okay. Well, you know, Renee, we never really figured out what it is you do here at Life Dynamics. Maybe we
Thanks,
ought to
Mark.
go into that. No.
A little bit of everything.
You're the power behind the throne, believe me. Nothing gets done around here without Renee being involved in it. But anyway, the neat thing here is not only do we have you guys joining the team, the usual suspects, so to speak, but it signals a new relationship or alliance between Life Dynamics and Texas Right to Life, which we're really excited about.
Yes.
As are we.
We are very excited about that and really happy to be working with you guys. We're going to be working together on a lot of different things. Renee and I came to Houston and visited with Jim and Elizabeth, not this Elizabeth, the other Elizabeth, that actually run Texas Right to Life. And everybody seems very happy about this new alliance.
Yes.
We were,
It was a great visit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
enjoyed
was.
meeting everybody.
meet everybody at the office. And anyway, we also need to explain what the situation with Carol Everett was, and she was going to be the permanent host, and she may be back at some time in the future or may be on the phone with us. But Carol has missed a few shows because of problems with her mother, and it looks like that situation is not going to resolve itself. So she called and asked if we could take her off and
Right.
until that problem resolves itself.
Right.
But she's got to take care of her mom. Carol's doing what a daughter's supposed to do.
That's right. Continue to lift her up in prayers, her mom and her.
Yeah, her mother's very ill, obviously, but maybe not terminal right this minute, but she's pretty ill. But she's also apparently a little bit difficult to get along with at this stage in her life, and so Carol's having to grapple with that a little bit. So LifeTalk coming up here every month was just more than what she could handle. So
Sure.
we made this change, and we're
Yeah.
extremely happy to have you two join us. Now, one thing that's interesting is you guys were very instrumental in getting the HB2 passed in Texas here, which the Supreme Court just knocked down. But like we said last month, if you think the pro-lifers in Texas are just going to go away and lick our wounds,
I don't think
that ain't-
so.
That ain't happening. We're going to be coming back, and we don't get so much involved in the political end here, as you know, but you guys do. And I want to congratulate y'all for the work that you did on HB2, because I know that you understand this, but HB2 is being looked at by states all over the country as a model for what they're going to do in their states. And now what they're watching is they're saying, okay, now that the Supreme Court has knocked this down, what's Texas going to do next? So the things that happen here in Texas become kind of a model for what the pro-lifers in other states are going to be doing. So
Yeah, they are on pins and needles waiting.
yeah, we
Right.
get these calls all the time from people
Right.
asking about that, and we see articles in newspapers and stuff about, what's Texas going to do. So if the pro-aborts think that they've won and that we're just going to go away and lick our wounds, they're nuts.
Yeah, it doesn't end at the Supreme Court ruling for sure.
No.
We have a duty to continue to fight.
We're going to continue to fight.
Well, and
Now,
I think it's interesting that the main part that the pro-aborts are diminishing is the life-saving aspects of HB2, which are still standing.
Yeah.
And that's where babies at 20 weeks of development, their life is still protected here in Texas.
Right.
And that stands, and that precedent for other states to follow that part of the model legislation, which
Yeah.
is upheld, that's a really good catalyst to help advancing legislation across
Yeah.
the country.
the parts that they're knocking down are the stuff that protect women.
Yeah.
Which
Exactly.
indicates clearly what we've always said, and we've always known this. It's no secret. These people don't care anything about women. They
about the
care
bottom line.
They care about killing the baby.
right.
As long as the baby dies, they don't care what happens to the woman.
Right.
But the baby's got to die. That's a given. And you know, you can see too how the media, what I call the godless leftist media, and people probably think in other parts of the country, well, you guys got it good in Texas because you got this really hardcore pro-life state and state legislature and all that. But the media in Texas is no different than the media in New York or Massachusetts or California. It's the same bunch of godless leftist pro-aborts. And they're doing their job. We're just recently, in the last couple of days, we've seen headlines in newspapers. Hispanic women bear brunt of Texas abortion law, figures show. Now, if you read the thing, you see that what the figures show and what the conclusion that they're putting in the headlines is two different things. But why couldn't you just as easily say Hispanic women, babies are now more protected because of this law? Well, when they say they're bearing the brunt of this law, they're saying this is our position on abortion. You know, and then of course they'll call you for a comment and say, "Oh, we're neutral. We treat each side fairly." They're lying.
Yes. We get a lot
Another
of that.
another headline: pregnancy-related deaths doubled in Texas after abortion clinics closed. Again, if you read the data, there's nothing in there that indicates that A, these numbers are accurate, but B, even if they are, that it has anything to do with restricting abortion. There's no indicator in there that this is what's happening.
Yeah, and statistically, they're citing data that took place in years prior to a lot of the laws that were passed in Texas,
Right.
which really started protecting not only the life of the unborn, but also the health and safety of women. And so they're trying to skew the whole situation and draw the conclusion
Right.
that Texas is harming women when we're actually the true advocates to protect women so that they're not under the predatory practices that
Right.
abortion clinics try to launch.
I saw something the other day, somebody was quoting about this, and they were using some statistics from 2008. Well, 8-year-old statistics are not necessarily applicable to HB2.
It's 2016.
Right. But, or even especially 2016 HB2 statistics.
Right.
You know, how can you even make this argument? Like, what, these statistics existed, they knew what was going to happen 8 years down the road, and so this is what they did? Another thing that they're talking about is all the dangerous things that women are doing, like self-aborting and doing all these things that they say, well, this shows what happens when you restrict access to abortion. Well, first off, again, they would have you believe that we can't walk down the streets in any city in Texas without stepping over the dead bodies of women who've been killed, you know, self-aborting or drinking some sort of, you know, lye or something like that in order to abort. None of this is true. None of it's true. So if you're outside the state of Texas and you're seeing, because what we have seen is the national press is picking up on these headlines from Texas and then repeating them wherever they live. And sometimes the article that you read, if you read the whole article, it doesn't support the headline. And what they know is that the headline is kind of a bumper sticker mentality. And what people remember is the headline. And they don't say, okay, well, I'm going to read and see if the article itself supports that headline. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. But one of the things I want to point out is they're talking about how do-it-yourself abortions now are being pushed. And what we need to understand is this do-it-yourself abortion thing and some of the other draconian things that they're talking about doing in the law. For example, California now, the state in which 20% of all the abortions in the country happen, has just made it legal for non-doctors to do abortions. When in years past they said, well, abortion has to be legal so it can be done by licensed physicians rather than in the back alleys or whatever. But now they're saying, oh no, you don't need to have a licensed physician, and a nurse practitioner can do it, or you know, anybody, just hire somebody in off the
Midwife.
street, a
The
midwife.
same standard would not hold true for any other surgery or procedure in the medical industry.
Especially, and you know, this is something a lot of people don't think about. Abortion is a surgery that's done blindly. The abortionist can't see what he's doing. He's going strictly by feel. So now we're going to let non-physicians do this, and it's supposed to be safe. And we're also seeing now pro-aborts calling for things like RU46, not only to be dispensed everywhere, but be dispensed over the counter.
Yes.
Just walk in and buy it in a bubble
They
pack.
predict that that's what's coming.
That's coming next.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's already being stated. 4 states are now participating in a study of what happens when women get these pills through the mail.
What happens is women are injured, women are having health complications, and women are dying.
Incomplete
Right.
abortions.
Oh, incomplete abortions. I mean, this is our biggest call now that we get from post-aborted women, from women who've been injured. I mean, it's 98% of our calls. It seems like every time we get a call, it's the woman's got the leg of her baby laying in the bed with her or something, or the head of the baby bobbing in the toilet. I mean, this is the calls that we get. To show you how outrageous this is, that they're going to allow not only non-physicians to do surgical abortions, but they're wanting to put RU46 and bubble packs down at the 7-Eleven. The guy, we've got some research that we did years ago on RU46. We got a quote from the doctor, I can't even pronounce his name, it's a French name, Étienne-Émile. He's the guy that invented RU46. He developed it. And he said it would be crazy to ever allow non-physicians to give this out. It must always be dispensed by physicians. And now we've gone past just allowing physicians to do it. I mean, non-physicians do it. Now we're talking about putting it in bubble packs at the convenience store.
They're definitely ignoring his advice.
Right. Now, one of the things that we need to talk about here, and this goes to this issue of the do-it-yourself abortion. Not only is this thing not new, it's old. Mm-hmm. I have right here in my hot little hand a tape called No Going Back, and this was put out by the Federation of Feminist Women's Health Centers, Carol Downer's group out in California. And this literally is a call for women to create what are called self-help groups. Now, you two haven't seen the video because you weren't here yesterday, but Renee looked at it yesterday. I hadn't seen it in years. It's not the sort of thing you sit around and watch, you know,
No.
for entertainment.
No.
This is literally teaching women how to do abortions at home. And this group in California has been pushing this since the late 1980s. Wow. So this is nothing new. Mm-hmm. But this is another example of how they do these utterly preposterous things and then try to blame them on us and say, well, you're responsible for this. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, in this case, they're saying, you guys have passed these laws that are forcing us to push do-it-yourself abortions on people.
When they've been encouraging people to do it for decades.
They've been encouraging people to do it since at least the 1980s. It would be laughable if it weren't so serious. I mean, they teach you in here how to buy a mason jar and some aquarium tubing and some little syringe that's used by veterinarians or something. And they won't sell you the whole kit because they could get in trouble with the FDA if they did that. So what they do is they tell you how to assemble this kit at your house. And then you get these self-help groups together, is what they call them, and they are groups of women that's your support network. And they come over, and whoever's the one that's having the abortion gets naked and lays on the couch, and the other women have speculums, and it's one of the most
Mirrors and flashlights.
mirrors and flashlights to look around. And they tell you to
It's disgusting.
look for anything unusual. Now let me ask you this: y'all are all intelligent women. But you're not medically trained, right? No. Would you know what was unusual?
No,
Would you know what to look for?
not
What's
at all.
unusual is this group of women joining together in this process.
Sounds like some new age jewelry or makeup or Tupperware party.
It's like a Tupperware party. That's exactly what I was going to say. This is exactly like a Tupperware party. These people are whacked out, I'm telling you.
A satanic version
Yes.
of
Yeah.
a Tupperware.
They are whacked out. But this is mainstream pro-choice mentality. And again, I'm going to ask the question, why are we responsible for what they're doing? And it's like anytime they talk about coat hanger abortions, right? The people who do coat hanger abortions are pro-choice. They're not pro-life. Mm-hmm. And if you think about what they're saying, you tell me where I'm wrong here. What they're saying, if you don't let us kill babies, we're going to kill women, right? But somebody's dying. We're killing somebody. Right. That's literally what they're saying.
And we obviously don't want these women dying from coat hanger abortions and self-help abortions, but
Yeah.
they are doing it to themselves. It is a fact.
Yeah, they're doing it and trying to make us responsible for it.
Right.
And, you know, I think it's time the pro-life movement started being a little bit more aggressive about this and say, we're not going to be extorted anymore.
And here comes the Supreme Court saying we're not going to protect women and
Right.
enforce these safety standards in HB2.
And even the FDA, when they're lowering the protocol and the standards and making RU486 more readily available.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got all kinds of research that we did here back when they were doing the clinical trials on RU46. Mm-hmm. And the clinical trials on RU486 were a complete scam.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got tapes from National Abortion Federation conferences where they were talking to the people that were doing the clinical trials. They let the abortion industry do the clinical trials on RU46. And they were telling them how not to count complications that you have. Certain complications, if they didn't meet certain parameters, you didn't have to count. They had a woman die in Washington State, and they didn't count her as a complication because in the clinical trials, you had to live within 20 miles of an emergency room. If you didn't get counted no matter what happened to you. She lived outside the 20-mile radius. She died. They didn't count her. They were teaching people how to go in the emergency room situation if you had an incomplete abortion. If you take the material out, it now counts as a surgical abortion, so therefore it doesn't count against RU46. I could go on and on. I mean, we researched all this when they were doing it.
So twisted.
And talk about skewing the polls.
Right.
This is exactly what they're doing.
They're cooking the books is exactly what they did because this was during the Clinton administration, and they hustled this thing through like it was some sort of life-saving drug, and they put
Life-ending drug.
They put it on what's called the FDA's fast track, and that was originally meant for drugs to cure AIDS because they said we don't have time to test AIDS drugs for 8 and 10 and 12 years like we normally do. So we created this fast track, and during the Clinton administration, they put RU46 on that fast track, and that's how it got approved so quickly. And the things that they did were just absolutely unbelievable. We have National Abortion Federation tapes where they were telling, they said, tell your clients that you're giving them RU46. If they have a complication, when they go to the emergency room, do not tell them that they had RU46. Tell them that they're having a miscarriage. And so we really never knew how many complications that they had, but we knew they had a lot more than what they were saying.
What's amazing is that they train their victims, their so-called patients, to cover them and protect them. But when
Right.
these women are victimized and they're most vulnerable and having complications, there's no one there to
Right.
step in.
That's right. It's, like I said, the biggest lie ever told in this whole battle is that they're doing this to protect women. That is the biggest lie in the whole pro-life, pro-abortion struggle. That's the biggest one.
Yeah, and these girls, they're naive and they're scared, and
They're
they're
vulnerable.
they're vulnerable, and they're gonna listen to what they say. They're
Right.
not gonna go against them.
That's right. Now, we've got a new project that we're introducing. We've talked about this in past shows, and we've also talked about it in our newsletter and fundraising letters that we send out, about a new project that we're developing in response to the fact that there's a lot of information out there right now talking about the short attention spans that people have now because television actually started it back in the 60s. But then the internet rapidly accelerated it, and then social media really
The
accelerated.
Vine mentality, that 6 seconds little snippet of attention.
If you can't, what I've discovered is, and I heard this on a show I watched on C-SPAN about the changing political demographics and how you have to deliver your message in a very short period of time.
Right.
And they were saying, like on YouTube, if you can't deliver your message in 2 or 3 minutes, you can't deliver your message. You're out. And that people will click on a YouTube video, and the first thing they do is look to see how long it is. If it's more than about 3 minutes, they're going to click off of it. And even if it's less than 3 minutes, if you don't get them pretty quickly into that deal, they're gone. So the pro-life movement has been mired down because we get hung up in this deal of, well, we got to talk about the politics and the law and the medicine and the pathology and all the stuff that goes along with the pro-abortion thing. And so we don't think we can deliver our message in that 2 or 3 minute span. But my argument is, if you don't learn how to deliver your message in that 2 or 3 minute span, I guarantee you the pro-aborts are doing it. They're doing it right now. Go to TeenWire or any of the other
Right.
Planned Parenthood websites and see what they're doing.
Right.
They're learning how to deliver their message in short sound bites. If we don't do the same thing, we're going to get left in the dust. And that's what's happening right now.
Right. And they have the budget to do that too.
Right.
They do.
But we have come up with a project we're calling Fast Forward Videos. And we just created our first one. This is going to be the first in a series that we're going to create. And then we're also going to do what we talked about before about the answers videos, the short answers to pro-abortion questions. And we're still trying to figure out the way we're going to do those. But we've got to go down this trail because we're fooling ourselves if we think we're going to put out big inch-thick books and people in America nowadays are going to read these books. And so we've got to get them with these short short video.
Right.
The good news is I really see a rise in the number of people who are willing to stand up as pro-lifers. They just need to be equipped with the right words and the right tools,
Right tools.
in order to be able to speak and to bring others into the movement with us. And if we can convey the message clearly and shortly, I think we'll be a lot more effective.
You know, I don't like this idea that we have to deliver the pro-life message in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of
It's a
things I don't
reality.
like. This is the new world, right? This is the world we live in today.
That's how millennials receive information.
Yeah, and they're the future of the movement. So if we don't learn how to communicate with them on the level that they communicate on, then we might as well quit and go home. So we're developing this thing called fast forward videos, and we just finished the first ones, and let's take a second and watch this.
Okay, let's say you're like me. You know what I mean. You're in your 40s and you're having sex with one of your kids. Or maybe you're doing it with that little 12-year-old down the street who thinks you two are going to get married, right? Whatever the case, have you thought about what you're going to do if she gets pregnant? Well, unless you want to spend the next 20 years in jail, you better get her down to Planned Parenthood. For a few $100, they can make your problem go away. Best of all, these people don't ask a lot of questions and they keep their mouths shut. They will make sure that nobody knows anything about your business. And after the abortion, they'll even put your girl on birth control so you don't have to go through this again. The fact is, Planned Parenthood has always been there for guys like us. But now, some politicians are trying to shut them down by taking away their taxpayer funding. And if they succeed, you and I lose the right to make the decisions that are best for us. We can't let that happen. So call your legislators and tell them that you stand with Planned Parenthood and you don't want their funding cut off. Just remember, that phone call could be the thing that keeps us both out of prison.
What do you think?
Poking the fingers in the eyes of Planned Parenthood for sure.
Right.
Yes, it was good.
Right. Like I said, this is just our first attempt at this.
Yep.
We got a lot of additional messages that we're going to be coming out with. I think are going to be pretty aggressive. But you're right. And of course, Renee knows what some of the new ones we got coming out, and some of them are going to be more aggressive maybe than this one. But this is the sort of thing we've got to do. We've got to deliver messages. This particular one is developed around the idea that we have to change the image of Planned Parenthood. They're out here painting this image of themselves as these caring, professional, people.
Healthcare providers.
Healthcare providers.
Care no matter what. Meanwhile, they're taking advantage of women.
Of these women and killing these babies in the meantime. And sexually protecting men who sexually exploit children. And that's what this is about. And anybody who goes to childpredator.com and doesn't understand that that's what's going on is fooling themselves. This is exactly what's happening. And we've got some more coming out on this same, that we're going to be doing on this same subject. But what we need people out in the field to do is to start retweeting these things. And we can't
Sharing the videos.
Sharing the
is
videos.
so
and
powerful.
Getting them out as far and as wide as we can. And I know you guys are going to be helping out with that. But we need other people. Anybody out there can do this. This is something any pro-lifer can do.
That's what I love about the power of social media right now, because, you know, whatever it is that I post on my Facebook feed, my network of family and friends and colleagues, they get to see that. And we have a relationship, and so they kind of trust what it is I have to say. So by partnering with sharing this video,
Right.
it has the power. I've literally witnessed a video reach millions of people within a very short period of time. And what better way to spread the message
right.
than through a network of family and friends?
Right.
And powerful videos like this, I mean, they give you knots in your stomach, and those knots propel you more to action.
Right.
Of spreading the message more, of sharing it, of passing it along.
Right. This thing was designed to actually make people angry, to look at this and be angry at this guy in the video, but then also at the end to direct them to childpredator.com so that they can see we're not just making this up. We've got the documentation that Planned Parenthood and the National Abortion Federation are operating a pedophile protection racket.
Right.
And this is the largest criminal enterprise in American history. It has more victims than any criminal enterprise in the history of the United States. Now, I have been saying this since we started the Child Predator Project back in 2000. And I have said it on hundreds of national television shows and radio programs. And I said just what I've said just a moment ago. If I'm not telling the truth, that is slander and libel on its face. Why has Planned Parenthood never sued us? And the reason they've never sued us is because truth is an absolute defense in a slander case. And we'd get discovery on their records, and we would prove that this is true. And that's what this video is designed to do, is get people angry and to go to childpredator.com and say, oh, these people are nuts. I'm going to go look at this website, and these people are crazy. They go to that website, then they'll see it's true. You're never going to take somebody that's a rabid pro-abort and show them a minute-and-a-half video and turn them into a rabid pro-lifer. That's not what's going to happen. These things are designed to start the process,
Right.
to create doubt in their minds. Say, well, maybe Planned Parenthood is not all that they claim to be. That's why we started the People of Choice website, to show people what kind of people we're going up against, because they think they're just people we disagree with. That's not true.
Well, I think the video really sheds the light to the folks that say, you know, I'm pro-life. However, Planned Parenthood, they really still do some good things. Well, this brings to light that not only are they killing babies, but we have young children walking around that are being victimized twice, not only by the predator that's taken advantage of them sexually, but now their whole life is being destroyed as they're ushered through a system that's protected by many of our laws to be able to take advantage of these girls in a way that their parents don't even have to know about.
That's what this is all about. And the laws that were passed to protect children who are victims of sexual predators are being ignored, openly ignored by Planned Parenthood. They'll even admit that they ignore them. So that's the point that we need to start getting over to people and understand that you think they care about that little 12-year-old who's got a 40-year-old guy out in the parking lot that brought her there? You think they care anything about that child?
No,
They care
because
about
that's
the money.
dollars.
They care about the money. That's why they protect him,
Right.
because he's the one with the money. And that's where all this thing, and it always goes back to money. I don't care what else you do. Well, we're out of time. You guys appreciate your first show. How do you think? What do you think?
We're
I
glad
dig
to
it.
be here.
You think you're going to do okay? I think you will. Well, thanks a lot. We're out of time for this week. We'll see you again next week. In the meantime, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how this killing will stop.